dirty work no more.
Welcome back to the channel, folks. So I've been rewatching The Sopranos over the last few months, and just finished the series again a few weeks ago. It's a show I didn't get into until long after it finished airing, mostly because my family didn't have HBO for like the longest time. While I liked the serious storytelling and drama of the show, what really got me loving it was just how funny it could be. The antics of Tony Soprano, his family, and the rest of the North Jersey crew would always have me laughing my ass off. It wasn't the usual mob story or crime drama I was used to, and I kinda regretted missing out on the series back when it was airing. The Sopranos centers around North Jersey mob boss Tony Soprano, as he tries to balance running his criminal enterprises, his chaotic family life, while also dealing with his own personal grudges. Played by the late James Gandolfini, the series would explore Tony's character, his inner conflicts, moral ambiguity, and vulnerabilities, both through his actions and through his therapy sessions with his psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi. With excellent writing, one of the most groundbreaking lead characters ever put to screen, and a strong ensemble cast of memorable characters with their own storylines, is it any wonder so many consider The Sopranos one of the best series put to television? It's just too bad that its video game adaptation couldn't live up to that pedigree, as The Sopranos' Road to Respect is a bland, uninspired, and boring-ass game. One that had me mentally checked out through most of my playthrough. As a heads up, I'm going to assume most of you watching have seen The Sopranos, so I'm not going to explain who every character is that shows up in the story. That also means if you've never seen the show, now's the time to leave the video, as I'm going to be spoiling quite a few things. The Sopranos' Road to Respect is an action-adventure beat-em-up developed by 7 Studios and published by THQ. Released on the PS2 in November of 2006, the game's story is set in between seasons 5 and 6 of the show. In a similar vein to both of the Godfather games, instead of playing as a character from the show, someone you'd want to play as, like Tony Soprano, or even Christopher Moltisanti, in Road to Respect, we're playing as original character, Joey LaRocca. While made up for the game, Joey does have ties to the TV series, as he's the bastard son of Salvatore Bonpensiero, aka Big Pussy. Before discussing Joey, let's talk about his father. By the way, I'm mostly going to refer to him as Puss or Big Puss, as I'm not sure YouTube will let me say Pussy too much without getting demonetized. Big Puss was a close friend of Tony Soprano, working as a soldier under his crew. During the first season, while attending a card game held by Jimmy Altieri, the feds would raid the building and Puss would get caught and arrested after throwing out his back. Bailed out of jail by his wife Angie, he'd be confined to his home on his doctor's orders, while also treating his back injury with painkillers. During this time, Tony would get word from his police informant Vin Malkasian that he's learned the FBI have an informant in his crew, pointing the finger at Big Puss. Tony was uneasy about making a move on his friend unless he had definitive proof, so he sent Paulie to confirm his loyalties and authorized him to take out Puss if he saw a wire.
Why don't you want to take your clothes off?
I got high blood pressure, you fucking idiot. I go in there, I can check the fuck out. My doctor mentioned steam and sauna specifically as no-nos. He said, stay the fuck away from heat.
The encounter at the spa failed to confirm if he was a rat, but Big Pussy's refusal to take off his clothes made him look even more suspicious. It's during that encounter that Tony is visited by Jimmy Altieri, who had also been arrested by the feds. Jimmy acts extremely suspicious, and asks about the Colombian drug money his guys stole the episode before, with Tony quickly realizing he's fishing for information. Meeting up with Sil, he explains that Jimmy is the informant, and that Malkasian mistook him with Puss, since in Tony's words, they're both fat bucks with black hair. Tony is then thrown into a panic as he can't reach his friend or Paulie, and is worried that the hit has been carried out on the wrong person.
I can't find Pussy anywhere.
Paulie would show up and confirm he was still alive, but Big Puss would disappear right after, his own family unsure of where he was. After taking out Jimmy Altieri and the issue of the rat seemingly put to rest, Big Puss would resurface outside of Tony's house. He cooks up a story that he was in Puerto Rico getting treatment for his back, and explains that he didn't tell anyone because he caught on that the crew thought he was a rat, and was afraid that he'd be wrongly killed. This is enough for Tony to welcome him back into the family, but Big Pussy was indeed working with the FBI now. as during his initial arrest he was also busted for dealing heroin. So he was facing a long prison sentence unless he turned informant. Put into an impossible situation. As the season went on, we'd see his struggles with staying loyal to his friends or ratting them out. When Tony returned from his trip to Italy with the others, he changed the power structure of their organization when he became acting boss of the family, promoting Paulie to capo and Sil to his consigliere. Despite his years of service, Puss was passed over for promotion, and newcomer Furio would be brought on board at the same rank and equal footing as him. Taking this as disrespect, he'd now make a more earnest effort working with the FBI and gathering information on his friends. Tony, after getting a bad case of food poisoning, would have a surreal, sorta prophetic dream and realize that Big Pussy was working with the feds when talking to a fish.
You know I've been working with the government, right, Tone?
This whole dream thing felt so weird to me the first time I watched it, but it's supposed to be a manifestation of Tony's subconscious and him accepting what he's long suspected about Big Puss. Searching his home, Tony would find a wire and confirm that his old friend was indeed an informant. Luring Big Pussy out to the ocean on his new boat, Tony, Sil, and Paulie would confront him and get him to admit what he did before executing him.
I'd eat her out when I was down there.
The trio would dump his body at sea and told anyone suspicious of his disappearance that he'd turned rat and was in witness protection. I skipped a few things like that whole mess with Christopher getting shot, but the reason I went over Big Pussy's role in the series is because it plays a big part in Joey's character and story. After he was killed, Tony and the crew would look after his wife and kids, though look after might be too generous a term, as Tony basically roped Angie into taking over Puss's body shop. Being an illegitimate child Puss had with his mistress, Joey wouldn't receive that help and was forced to fend for himself by stealing and robbing people. After trying to rob someone outside of Satriali's pork shop, he'd get stopped and confronted by Tony. Telling the kid to get his act together, Tony takes pity on him and brings him into the crew. While the reasons for doing it aren't really explored, I like to think this is Tony's way of trying to make amends with his old friend by helping his son. Actually, this is Tony Soprano we're talking about. It's less about being virtuous by helping Joey, and more to make himself look good and to feel better about killing Big Pussy. I'm not going to analyze his character, as there's dozens of videos by more articulate YouTubers who break down his character far better than I could ever hope to, so watch one of those instead. Now part of the Sopranos crew, Joey still has a big chip on his shoulder since it's well known his father was a rat, a sore point for him whenever it's brought up by other mobsters, or members of the crew like Christopher. Things get hazier for Joey as he begins to doubt that his father went into witness protection and was actually killed by his former friends for being a rat. Joey LaRocca doesn't end up becoming this multifaceted character, but he has a solid foundation and does struggle with some of the things he does in the game, often speaking to the ghost of his dad for reassurance. Yeah, I'll get to that during the story portion of the video. Road to Respect is a fairly by-the-numbers action beat-em-up, with Joey getting into fights with other mobsters, drug dealers, and random civilians who get in his way. Combat makes use of the usual light and heavy attacks, with Joey able to block incoming hits while also grappling his opponents to knock them down to the floor, into a wall or an object around him. While you do have some combo moves to use, they're all fairly basic in execution, and you're not going to pull off anything fancy like you'd see in a Yakuza game. Best the game has are some special moves you can use by pressing the directional button, and then pushing the analog stick in the direction prompted, effectively acting as finishing moves. It'll have Joey do things like smashing someone's face into the floor, or breaking their arm. There's also some environmental moves he can pull off, by dragging someone to an object with a red arrow above it, and then pressing the right prompts to smash their head with a filing cabinet, or stabbing them with a pen, or injuring them with a table saw. There's also a multitude of objects you can find in levels to use as weapons, like wrenches, pipes, whiskey bottles, and even a big purple dildo. And here I thought San Andreas and Saints Row were the only games that had a dildo as a weapon. While more effective than just punching someone to death, weapons do break after a few hits. Also, you can't carry any of them with you, even during the same level, as when outside of combat, Joey can't pick up any weapons, which I'm assuming is to maintain some level of realism, since he can't hide them when running around. Honestly, the combat in Road to Respect is as bare bones and simple as it gets. There isn't any real strategy to encounters, and outside their varying appearances, all enemies are effectively the same. The lack of enemy variety means the combat gets repetitive immediately, as you're never challenged to change up your approach to fights, or use a certain move on a particular type of enemy to damage them. So outside of the curiosity of seeing what they do, you never really have to use the combos and special moves you've unlocked. Also, combat encounters are fairly easy, as while it can be clunky at times since you have to move the camera around as you fight, the majority of enemies offer close to no challenge. The only time they do is if you let yourself get surrounded, in which case you'll end up getting stun-locked to death as it's hard to break away from their constant attacks. There is some shooting in the game, as during a few levels Joey can pull out his gun to handle a problem, which instantly locks on to the nearest enemy and lets you pump him full of lead. Though that's the only firearm he gets outside of a couple occasions where you can stumble onto a shotgun that has limited ammo and is awkward to aim. However, the game actively incentivizes you not to get into shootouts, as it will impact Joey's respect with the family. Underneath his health is his total respect, and underneath that, you'll occasionally see some stars that vary from 1 to 3, depending on the level. Those stars represent how much unwanted attention you'll get in a public place while shooting, which causes your respect to deplete the more you use your gun. And if it hits 0, Joey will end up just like his old man.
One favor, guys, please. Not in the eyes.
On paper, I kinda actually like this idea, as The Sopranos wasn't the type of crime show where mobsters killed each other in giant shootouts, as most of the time if someone pulled a gun, it was usually in a remote place with little if any witnesses. Even the more absurd times when someone should have noticed, like when that waiter went into a seizure after Christopher hit him with a brick and Paulie finished him off.
That's my money, Paulie!
And I also like the idea that you can't just rely on shooting someone to solve all your problems. The real issue with this mechanic is that shooting tends to be clunky and unreliable in killing someone, as shots don't do a lot of damage, and you can miss depending on the size of the target reticle when firing. Your enemies are also clunky at shooting you, as they're very slow to aim and fire. So it's easy and more efficient to just run up to them and punch them to death without bothering to trade shots. That, and even the penalty of losing respect, is pitifully easy to rectify. While running around levels, you'll occasionally find some things you can steal, like flashlights, wallets, MP3 players, etc. Anything you loot is instantly converted to cash, and you can rob your opponents after knocking them out too. Then, using that cash, you can interact with this yellow envelope next to Paulie in between missions, and kick up to him to restore your respect, the cost varying on how much needs to be refilled. You can also kick up even more to unlock concept art and behind-the-scenes clips for the game. So while an interesting idea in theory, punishing you for overusing your gun doesn't amount to much. Since the shooting is so bad, you're better off not wasting time firing, and the few times you choose to, your respect is so cheap to restore. Overall, the combat kinda sucks. It's too basic, lacks any sort of challenge, and gets repetitive since you could just spam your basic light and heavy attacks to win every encounter. Add in a severe lack of gameplay variety, and Road to Respect is just not fun as a video game in the least. Alright, but what about the story? There's gotta be something there, right? Sorta? Let's get into it.
You fucking kidding me? Pulling a stunt like that on this street?
It was just sitting there. What do you care?
Look at you, a fucking street punk, snatching purses from old ladies. Christ, the pussy was here to see this shit.
Well, he ain't here. And fuck him anyway.
I got news for you, Joey. There's more than one way to shame your family. Whatever else he was, Pussy was a good father, and he would have hated seeing you like this. He'd be as pissed as me.
I'm sorry, Tony. It's just...
If you need money or something, you should have come to me. Go home. Quit acting like a fucking delinquent, and maybe we can find something for you to do.
No kidding? You do that?
Go out the back way. Now. Forget the fucking purse, you moron. Go!
After the opening cutscene, the game shifts to the Bada Bing, with Joey roughing up some guy who got handsy with one of Sil's dancers. Okay, I know I said earlier I didn't want to spend too much time explaining who every character is, but if I don't talk about them just a little bit, I feel like I'd be doing them a disservice. Silvio Dante, or just Sil, is the owner of the Bada Bing strip club, which serves more or less as the headquarters for the Sopranos crew. Sil is Tony's consigliere. He advises him on business matters and often acts as the voice of reason, being one of the few people who actually manages to talk Tony down from doing something stupid without setting him off, which partially comes from his level-headedness and since he acted as a mentor for Tony when he joined Johnny Soprano's crew. Oh, and he really loves doing Al Pacino impressions.
When I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Huh? Zappuccino.
There's more I'd like to say about Sil, but none of it's really relevant to the game. What I will say is that he's easily one of my favorite characters on the show. Everything about his character feels like a stereotypical movie mafioso, but it doesn't end up distracting or feel remotely out of place. And those few moments where he loses it, like attacking Fat Dom after that whole mess with Vito, are hilarious, and shows he's not above it all and he's prone to getting emotional just like the others. Heading inside the club, one of the dancers, Debbie, asks Joey to tell the DJ to change the song playing. Speaking to the guy, you're given the option to choose what attitude to use when speaking to him. Either tough, neutral, or smooth. I thought this would be some kind of Fallout speech check, where using the right attitude would unlock a bonus or skip an optional fight. But nope, it just changes how Joey addresses people and what they say. So the outcome to these conversations are always the same. Considering how bare bones the combat is, I really should have expected as much. Getting the DJ to change up the music, Debbie will thank Joey with a free lap dance. Nice. Afterwards, Joey needs to check in with his captain, Paulie Galtieri, aka Paulie Walnuts. Like Sil, Paulie is an older mafioso who was already part of the life by the time Tony formally joined. The exact opposite of the more level-headed Sil, Paulie is quick-tempered, impulsive, and even paranoid at times. While fiercely loyal to Tony, he does often neglect to kick up as much money as he's supposed to, and would sometimes do things behind his boss's back, like keeping the painting of Tony with his prized horse, Pi Oh My, after Tony ordered it destroyed. I love Paulie, and his interactions with Christopher provide some of my favorite moments from the show.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator. His house looked like shit.
Since Joey is working under Paulie, I was kinda hoping the game was going to recreate that dynamic. And while there are some funny moments between the two, their interactions aren't as great as I had hoped. Finding Paulie inside the club, he's in the middle of a conversation with some guy who's looking to speak to Tony and won't take the hint to buzz off. Telling that kid to take a hike, Paulie will order Joey to go get him a sandwich, and to check in with Tony to get his order too.
Hey, Tony, you want anything from the deli? Paulie's hungry.
Which must mean you're buying. Give me a salami on rye, lettuce, mayo, mustard.
Chicken soup with rice. Lots of pickles.
Cheeseburger and a vanilla shake. If it's chocolate, you're fucking taking it back, got it?
I forgot to bring it up, but a good chunk of the cast from the show returned to reprise their roles for the game. They all give a solid performance, and if there's any real reason to play this game, it's the interactions with them. The only notable missing member of Tony's crew is Bobby Bacala, but I'm not really all that bummed out he doesn't show up.
I don't give a fuck. Alright, I do give a fuck.
I don't hate his character or anything. I'm just not sure his inclusion would add much outside of another person from the show to interact with. Though I would have liked the mission where he asked for Joey's help in taking care of Junior. Could have had potential for some funny moments. After running around the Bada Bing for a bit, Joey will return to Paulie, who's in the bathroom dealing with the kid from before. Joey will take over and beating the guy up, but gets a little too carried away when bashing his head into the urinal and kills him. Despite partially being his fault since he gave the order, Paulie gets mad and tells Joey to get rid of the body. Joey will head down to the docks with his buddy Reggie, another guy trying to work his way up the crew, and they plan to dump the body into the water. Lifting a gun and a fancy watch off his corpse, the duo soon discover the guy isn't quite dead yet. Nothing a couple bullets can't solve. Mission accomplished, they just need to ditch the car they brought the body in. But first, it's time for a conversation with the ghost of Big Pussy.
I see they got you doing Paulie's dirty work.
That.
You're really in it now, Joseph.
You can't do any worse than you did.
It breaks my heart I hurt you, son. But sometimes in this life, all your choices are bad ones. Wait till you live some, you'll see.
Joey speaking to the ghost of his dead dad felt a little too out there, and maybe a bit too on the nose at first, even if it's probably not meant to literally be his ghost. But The Sopranos didn't shy away from out there moments, like Tony's food poisoning dream, or that alternate life he experienced while in a coma. There are some small and subtle supernatural moments in the show too, like Big Pussy's ghost briefly popping up during Livia Soprano's wake, or the whole thing with Paulie and the psychic. Either way, I like that we get some interaction with Joey and his dad, though I wish these moments could have fleshed out the relationship more, as it really doesn't go into how much of a presence Big Pussy was in his son's life before he died. Before reporting back to Paulie, Reggie gets the idea to hit up the casino first and drags Joey along. He's gotten word that a mutual friend of theirs is having a bachelor party, and he wants to head upstairs to join in on the fun. Joey isn't interested and stays downstairs instead, bumping into Neil, a crooked lawyer with a drug problem he briefly met earlier when getting Tony's food order. Neil's complaining about the money he's spending funding his daughter's wedding, and the guy upstairs enjoying his bachelor party is his future son-in-law. He also introduces Joey to his friend, Dr. Tyler Adams, who has a bit of a gambling addiction. And a little later, after beating up some drunks, Joey meets Carol, a lawyer at Neil's law firm. Most of the new characters introduced are all one-dimensional, and not really worth discussing, but the ones I just mentioned do pop up several times throughout the story, and have some tiny importance in the plot. After running around the casino for a bit, Paulie calls up wondering why Joey and Reggie aren't back yet. Heading upstairs, Joey will fight through most of the guys at the bachelor party, and then some pimp in order to save his buddy Reggie. Oh, and to get his watch back from the stripper who robbed him when he blacked out. The following day, after giving Paulie his cut and talking to Tony, Joey will be forced by Christopher to help him with his collections at some gym. And as they arrive, the pair bump into Tony's son, AJ Soprano.
Hey, Joey, Chris, how's it going?
Going good, Junior, going good.
Jeez, is that your car?
Yeah, I wish. My dad had me pick it up for him. I just drove it off the lot.
The one over on Bloomfield? That's fucking miles from here.
Well, I'm airing it out. Hey, give me a call sometime.
Now there's a 3-car pileup waiting to happen.
Oof, Christopher Moltisanti. Outside of Tony Soprano himself, he's the other character I had to stop myself from going into a giant discussion about. Christopher, or Chrissy as he's often called, is Tony's nephew. Well, technically his cousin, and serves as the secondary protagonist for most of the show. Tony has looked out for him for years, mostly out of respect for his father, Dickie Moltisanti, who Tony looked up to as a mentor when he was younger, and who was killed when Christopher was a toddler. Christopher is impulsive, hot-headed, and eager to prove himself to Tony, with his uncle initially hoping to groom him into a successor. Problem is, Christopher tends to screw up a lot, doesn't completely think his schemes through, and is quick to pass the blame for his own screw-ups. He's also extremely insecure and desperate to gain Tony's approval, which makes it easy for his uncle to manipulate him. Oh, and he has a recurring drug problem too. Like I said, I could go on and on talking about Christopher, but I want to pad out the review of this game by discussing the show. So here's him and Paulie lighting up Mikey Palmisi. Arriving at the gym, we'll run around with Christopher trying to find the owner, Saul. We'll beat up the juice heads around the gym, stumble onto Saul's side hustle selling roids, and get introduced to Joey's old friend Trishelle. There's not much to her character. She's not fleshed out like Carmela or Adriana. Trishelle is just there to be the shallow love interest. Nice boobs though. After some more running around the gym, we'll eventually track down Saul. Kicking his ass and torturing him a little, we'll force him to agree to cutting Christopher into his side business. This is also when the game's central story and conflicts start to form. Angelo Buscetta, a powerful mobster from Philly, has been asking around and looking for his nephew Mario, who's been missing for a few days. The last time anyone saw him was when he was on his way to speak with Tony, which has the Buscettas assuming he got whacked. And also because someone is running around flashing Mario's fancy, expensive watch. Ah shit, it was the guy from the Bada Bing Joey roughed up. Realizing Reggie is the one who's been spotted wearing Mario's watch, Joey heads off to meet Paulie and give him the bad news about what happened.
Now you tell me this shit?
I fucked up, Paulie. I'm sorry.
Fucking A, you fucked up, you fuck. Madon. Twiddly-dee and twiddly dumbass.
Whatever you need, Angelo, just let me know.
Got 3 nephews, but the only one who ever come to see me inside was Mario.
No shit.
If anything happened to him...
He's been gone 1 day. Probably banging away somewhere. Just take it easy, Angie.
At the same time, Tony just finished having a sit-down with Angelo Buscetta, who, if he sounded familiar, that's because he's voiced by Robert Costanzo, the voice actor for Joe Barbaro in Mafia 2. Tony has things under control for now, but to avoid any issues with the Buscettas, Paulie orders Joey to kill Reggie before anyone finds out what happened to Mario. Heading to Reggie's place, Joey's not thrilled about having to whack his friend, and his hesitation and some Mormons knocking on the door causes him to botch the hit. Chasing Reggie all around his apartment building, Joey eventually corners him on the roof, and despite his pleas that he'll disappear, Joey has no choice but to put him down. Unfortunately, someone else was also on Reggie's trail. A guy working for Angelo Buscetta by the name of Tessio. Since he saw a Sopranos associate whack Reggie, and probably overheard his conversation with Joey, we gotta take him out before he spills the beans to his boss about what happened to Mario. After a brief chase and shootout, we'll put 2 bullets in Tessio's back before he falls several stories and splats on the pavement. Glad we don't have to worry about him anymore. Thanks to a job well done, Joey earned himself an invitation to the bar mitzvah for Hesh's nephew, which is being held at Vesuvio's. Hesh is an associate of Tony's but doesn't make an appearance in the game. And Vesuvio's is an Italian restaurant often featured in the series. Unfortunately, we don't get a cameo from its owner Artie Bucco, or his wife. Bummer. We do run into Angelo Buscetta again. He's trying to make a deal with Tony to smuggle in drugs through the port he controls. Tony isn't interested though, since the risk is too high, even with Buscetta offering him half of the take. Mingling at the bar mitzvah and discussing a potential business opportunity with AJ, Joey will hit the bathroom and get a guilt trip from his dead dad.
Look who's here. Everybody's newest wise guy of the week. And all it took was wasting his best friend.
What's your fucking point?
Dude, were you just talking to yourself?
You wanted to tell me something?
I'm throwing a rave with my buddy next weekend. $30 to get in, cash bar, it's gonna be huge. I want you to work security.
Nice to see Joey feels a little conflicted after being forced to kill his friend. Not that he dwells on it for long. Oh well, let's go help out AJ with his rave. I gotta tell you, the missions where Joey is helping out AJ might be the highlight of the game for me. AJ Soprano probably isn't going to rank very high on anyone's list of favorite Soprano characters. Despite his affluent upbringing and somewhat stable family life, at least in comparison to Tony's childhood, AJ is a spoiled, lazy, and directionless kid. But I found myself changing my opinion of him after my recent rewatch of the series. As well, a very flawed character, a good chunk of how AJ turned out is entirely on his parents. Carmela spoiled and coddled him. Tony, while strict and trying to instill some discipline in his son, failed to connect to him on an emotional level and was still distant. And despite how hard they push AJ to better himself, his small successes would always be undermined by his parents. So I've come to sympathize with the issues he goes through, especially during the final season. That said, the reason I like these missions with him is because it's classic AJ. With him getting a dumb idea in his head, carrying it out, and not properly thinking it through, which usually needs someone to bail him out. This rave idea he's cooked up is in partnership with his buddy Freddy. At first, it looks like he has a decent handle on things, and is being responsible about managing the party, something he did in the series when hosting a similar event. He has Joey acting as security, making sure no one is causing trouble or trying to sneak in anything illegal. Oh, and Trishelle shows up again too.
So, did you invite me to dance or be frisked?
Yeah, it'll be a complete body search.
Don't you wish?
I'm kidding.
Aren't you the gentleman? I'll be waiting for you.
However, it's not long until the cracks show, as AJ and his friend got financial backing from a Jamaican gang called the Dreads and their leader Desmond. The pair owe him money for the party, but don't have it yet, which, in fairness to AJ, is partially Joey's fault, as Joey interrupted a drug deal between Frankie and some dealer, where he was supposed to get the cash to pay Desmond. Desmond is less than understanding, as he now demands double what he's owed, and wants AJ's car as collateral, which wouldn't be so bad except that he's driving Tony's SUV. Knifing Freddy and taking the keys to the SUV, Desmond will take off and Joey will have to protect AJ, as they fight off the Dreads and try to stop Desmond from driving off with Tony's car. Spoilers, they fail.
He took the fucking car. What do I tell my dad?
Anything but the truth, because this ain't good.
What happened? Joey? Are you guys okay?
No!
They took his car.
At least you didn't get hurt, right?
Are you kidding me? We're fucking dead! Both of us!
The following day, AJ managed to keep what happened to the car under wraps, lying to his father that it's being detailed. Joey asked around and learned the car might have been taken to a chop shop called Do Right Auto Repair, and he'll head over there after AJ Googles the address. After a very long level beating up everyone in the mechanic shop, Joey will get Tony's car back in one piece. Before he can hand it off to him though, Paulie's got a job for him. There's been word that the crooked lawyer Neil was spotted talking to some cops, so Joey needs to investigate what he's up to. Oh, and to collect the money he owes Paulie. Heading to Neil's law firm, Joey will briefly speak with AJ and tell him to come pick up the SUV. Looking around the firm for Neil, Joey will bump into Carol again and learns that it wasn't a cop speaking to Neil, but Mario Buscetta's probation officer, who's looking into his disappearance. Well, shit, it's all tying together now, isn't it? We also learn that Neil regularly buys coke from Angela Buscetta, and is helping out with the drug shipment that Tony refused to take part in earlier in the game. Finding Neil after he finished banging his secretary, he'll cough up the dough he owes Paulie, but a couple of Angela's enforcers will pop up, looking for the money owed to them for the drugs he bought. Kicking those guys' asses, Joey grills Neil about the dealings with Angelo, and learns the Buscettas are moving the drugs through the port Tony controls completely under his nose, and we end up losing Tony's car again.
Hey, please, no, don't! On my dad's car! Holy shit, again? How many times is this gonna happen?
Returning to Vesuvio's, Joey fills Tony in about what Angelo is scheming, and immediately afterwards, Tony gets a call from AJ about how he got carjacked. Pissed to learn Buscetta's guys are involved, he wants to strike back at one of his businesses, ordering Joey and Vito to go blow up his porn studio. Oh man, Vito Spetafore. It's fascinating to see him go from such a minor character in earlier seasons to becoming such a key figure in the show that a good chunk of the final season is focused on his personal storyline, to questionable results. Popping up during season 2 of the show, he would work under Richie Aprile after his release from jail. Mostly lingering in the background, he didn't get much focus until his brother Brian was assaulted by Mustang Sally and he demanded retribution, with his next big moment being the hit on Jackie Jr. God, I don't know what it is, but I always find that scene so funny. A couple seasons later, after the deaths of Richie Aprile, and then his replacement Ralph Cifaretto, Vito would get promoted to capo and leader of the Aprile crew, soon becoming Tony's best earner. He's out of focus again until Meadow's boyfriend Finn discovers he's secretly gay. Managing to intimidate Finn into staying silent, Vito eventually gets outed in season 6 when some associates spot him at a gay nightclub. Since being gay in the Mafia is a big no-no, he goes into hiding to avoid being killed by his associates. Tony, for his part, wasn't particularly eager to order Vito's death, again because he was his best earner, and because he was getting pressured by Phil Leotardo to do it in the first place. I don't really have much to say about Vito, honestly. I think he's fine as a character, but just like everyone else who has issues with the final season, his storyline went on for way too long. And it felt like it just came out of nowhere considering how little focus he got in previous seasons. His homosexuality isn't really touched on or alluded to in the game either, outside of his reaction to walking in on a porn star getting blown by another guy.
Two more minutes, I'm at half-mast!
Out. Now!
Vito smiling might not even be deliberate for all I know, and could just be a quirk of his character model. Anywho, with his help, Joey will beat up everyone in the porn studio, blow up the place with a bomb, and then run back in to save Trishelle, who was working there as a cam girl. Despite him being responsible for her almost dying, she still ends up falling for Joey. Returning to Vesuvio's, things get even better for the kid, as all his hard work has earned him a seat at the table with Tony and the others, with only one objection, and predictably, it's Christopher.
Joey, have a seat. You earned it.
It took me years to get a place at this table. Now this rat bastard comes along, he's instantly one of the family?
Your call, Chris.
Come on, Chris. Can't we bury the hatchet?
Yeah, maybe in the back of your head.
It's enough, Christopher. You made your point. You either leave the kid alone or you get out of here.
Unfortunately for Joey, the goodwill he's built up with Tony goes down the toilet, as after a brief level where he saves AJ from Desmond and the Dreads again, the kid will end up in the hospital. Tony will verbally chew him out for what happened and for not telling him what he and AJ were up to. Things get worse as when he's sent to get coffee, Joey will bump into Angelo Buscetta and find out that Tuzio somehow managed to survive getting shot and falling several stories onto the pavement. I'm going to skip over the finer details of this level, but Joey will end up getting to Tuzio's hospital room and finish him off for good this time. Back at the Bada Bing, Tony's more relaxed now after AJ explained what happened, and he thanks Joey for looking out for his son. More trouble heads their way though as Angelo Buscetta finally returns Tony's SUV, except it's been wrecked pretty badly. Worse, inside the car is Trishelle, who while alive, was beaten and assaulted by Buscetta's men. Seeking revenge, Joey gets the okay from Tony to go after Buscetta, and he'll head down to the docks. Skipping a lot of the level again since it goes on for a while, Joey will catch up to Angelo, who serves as the final fight for the game.
You can't kill me. You're a punk, big pussy bastard kid. You ain't nobody.
I'm Joey LaRocca. Hear that? Joey LaRocca. The last name you're ever gonna hear.
Skipping ahead in time, Joey is moving up in the crew. He'll speak to the others and the ghost of Big Pussy one last time, getting some closure with his old man, who's proud to see him working under Tony Soprano. The game will then come to an end as Joey LaRocca becomes a made man in the Soprano family. And that was The Sopranos' Road to Respect. Man, that sure was a game. Probably not the worst thing I've ever played, but it really wasn't all that great either. At least the game wasn't very long, as I finished it in around 4 hours. Did I feel like I wasted my time? Not really. I've wasted more time playing worse games. But yeah, I didn't really get much out of my experience. The gameplay is basic, boring, lacks variety, and is stupidly repetitive. Levels are tiny, linear, and often get reused. Despite the story being written using notes from David Chase and everyone from the show delivering a solid performance, it feels like a Cliff Notes version of an episode of The Sopranos. The bastard son of Big Pussy working for the man who killed him has the ingredients for a great story, but fails to come together. It's the kind of idea that doesn't really work for this type of video game, and is better suited for a point-and-click story game like Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's just another low-effort, licensed adaptation video game in an ocean of similar games. Worth a one-time rental and that's it. Is it worth experiencing if you're a fan of the show? No. Even with its short runtime, you're better off watching a video of all the cutscenes stitched together, or a video of someone summarizing its story, like this video. The game is a one-off novelty that, while mildly interesting, you're not missing much if you choose to ignore it. And that's the video. Thanks again to today's sponsor, War Thunder. Play it today on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, and use my link in the pinned comment or video description to register. New and returning players who haven't logged in for 6 months can claim an exclusive bonus pack that includes premium vehicles, the coveted Eagle of Valor vehicle decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account access. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. And special thanks to my $5 YouTube members and patrons, with their names displayed on screen right now. And shout out to my $10 YouTube members and patrons, Miles Garrett, Primary, and Skillfuse. If you're interested in becoming a channel member or patron on my Patreon, you can support me for as low as $3 a month, which will give you early access to future videos and to uncut versions of videos too. As more members join, I plan to do members-only polls to vote on what games to cover in the future, and eventually exclusive videos too. I'm trying to cut down on my reliance on YouTube ad revenue and sponsorships, so any help you can provide would be greatly appreciated. So I've been giving it more thought, and I might finally get around to streaming. I want to try giving it a shot in a week or two, probably on a Friday or Saturday night around 10 PM Eastern Time, or later. Once I'm set on a sure date, I'll make a community post to let you guys know. I can't promise a consistent schedule yet, but I want to try it out at least and see how it goes. Think I'm going to start off with a fresh playthrough of GTA 4, since I've been itching to come back to it. Since I'm not really about being hyperactive and screaming into a mic every few seconds reacting to something, it'll be a mostly chill stream to relax and chat. Not much going on in my neck of the woods at the moment. Almost done with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Hopefully knock it out before the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake drops. I actually did a video on the original Paper Mario Thousand Year Door a while back. Honestly, I don't really like the review I did. It feels too basic and rushed. I'm not going to take the video down, but I am strongly considering redoing it, along with some older stuff for that matter. I'm very proud of the work I've done, but due to my older stuff being made way before I knew what I was doing, and before I was monetized, they lack the quality I pour into my content now. The struggles of being an artist. I'll still be doing new stuff of course, just maybe every once in a while I'll redo an older vid. Up next is God of War 2. I didn't realize not many of you knew I covered the first game already. It was a little over a year ago after I did the San Andreas video. While I still liked that review for the most part, I might have a slightly different approach when tackling the sequel. And after that's out, I'll move on to Ashura's Wrath. I still need to plan out what I want to do for June, and the rest of the summer, but I plan to cover Red Dead Redemption next month. From there, I'll probably ask you guys for feedback and see where I want to go. Definitely want to do Yakuza 2, maybe Far Cry, and finally that video on the original Final Fantasy VII I promised way back in December. I've actually been working on that one for a while now, but I haven't made as much headway on it as I wanted to. Just way too many distractions. I'm trying not to half-ass it due to the legendary status and popularity of it, but at the same time I want to use the video as a test run for other Final Fantasy videos. So if it works out, I want to cover Final Fantasy X during the summer, which is my favorite game in the entire series. So, you know, make sure to give the Final Fantasy VII review hundreds of thousands of views. Again, thanks for watching folks. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and comment down below. Who's your favorite Sopranos character? Which is the best season in your opinion? How do you feel about the Many Saints of Newark? Post your thoughts down below. And if you're new to the channel, I'd love it if you subscribed. Check out the recommended video or playlist here at the end. And consider checking out my memberships or Patreon. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.